Stop what you're doing for the next 10 minutes, because what I'm about to share with you could save your life, or the life of someone you love. Here's the truth nobody tells you. A stroke does not start the moment it happens. It starts the day before, sometimes 2 days before. Your body sends out a warning, a quiet knock on the door, and most people never hear it. They think it's just tiredness, just a clumsy moment, just getting older. It's not. Doctors have a name for this warning. It's called a TIA, a mini stroke. And here's the part that should scare you a little, in a good way, a way that makes you pay attention. Up to 1 in 10 people who have one of these warning signs go on to have a full stroke within just 48 hours. 2 days. That's all the time your body gives you. Today I'm going to show you exactly what those warning signs look like, what they feel like, and what you need to do the moment you notice them. Stay with me until the end, because the last sign on this list is the one almost nobody recognizes, and it's often the very first one to appear. Here's what most people believe. Strokes come out of nowhere. One moment you're fine, the next moment, everything changes. That belief is dangerous, because it's not true. Most strokes are not sudden strangers. They are loud knocks after a series of quiet ones. Your brain has been trying to get your attention, and you didn't know it was talking to you. Here's the new way to think about it. Your blood vessels are like the pipes in an old house. Before a pipe completely bursts and floods the kitchen, there are little signs. A drip here, a weird sound there, a bit of rust in the water. A stroke works the same way. Before the flood, there are drips. Small, brief moments where blood flow to part of your brain is interrupted for a few minutes, then it comes back. You feel normal again. You shake it off. But your brain remembers, and so should you. Here's the good news, and it's real good news. Because there's a warning period, that means there's a window to act, a window to call for help, a window to change the outcome completely. This isn't a hopeless story. It's a story about catching the drip before the pipe bursts. I've spent years studying how strokes develop, working alongside neurologists and emergency physicians, and reviewing the research on what actually happens in the hours and days before a major stroke. Here's my promise to you today. By the end of this video, you will know the 6 warning signs that can show up the day or even just hours before a stroke. You'll know exactly what they look like in real life, not just in a textbook, and you'll know what to do the second you spot them. This isn't about scaring you for no reason. It's about giving you the kind of knowledge that, frankly, could save your independence or your life. Let's begin. Let's talk numbers for a moment, because numbers don't lie, and these numbers matter to you. According to Harvard Medical School, about 1/3 of people who experience a mini stroke, a TIA, will eventually go on to have a full stroke. And the danger isn't spread out evenly over months. The risk is highest right at the start. Up to 10% of people who have a TIA go on to have a full stroke within just 48 hours. Let that sink in. 2 days. Researchers have also developed something called the ABCD2 score, a simple checklist doctors use to estimate how dangerous a warning sign really is. For people with the highest risk scores, the chance of a full stroke within 48 hours can be as high as 8%. That's roughly 1 in every 12 people with serious warning signs. Now here's the part that worries me most as someone who studies this. A study of older adults in Ireland found that less than half could correctly identify the common early signs of stroke. Less than half. That means for every 2 people watching this video right now, statistically, 1 of them would not have recognized these signs before today. What does that mean in real life? It means someone feels a strange weakness in their hand on a Tuesday, brushes it off, and by Thursday they're in an ambulance or worse. It means a wife sees her husband's words slur for 30 seconds at breakfast, and they both laugh it off, not knowing they just witnessed a 5-alarm fire warning. This is why today's video matters so much. Knowledge, real knowledge, closes that gap. Now I'm going to walk you through 6 warning signs your body may show in the day or 2 before a stroke. Some of these you already kind of know. Face drooping, trouble speaking. Most people have heard of those. But warning sign number 6, that one is different. It's subtle, it's easy to dismiss. And in my research, It's one of the most commonly reported signs in the hours leading up to a major stroke, yet almost nobody talks about it. Most people mistake it for something completely harmless. So stick with me all the way to the end, because sign number 6 might be the one that saves you. Let's start with sign number 1. Before we dive in, I want to ask you something, and I really want you to answer in the comments below. How old are you right now? 55? 65? 75 and still going strong? And here's my second question. Have you ever felt one of these signs, even for a few seconds, and brushed it off as nothing? Maybe a sudden moment of dizziness, a word that came out wrong, a hand that felt strangely weak for just a moment. Type it in the comments. Yes, I've felt that, or no, never. Not only does it help me understand who's watching, it might help someone else reading the comments recognize their own warning sign for the first time. Your comment could genuinely help save someone else's life today. Now, let's get into it. Sign number 1, the sudden face drop. The first sign is one of the most well-known, but most people only picture the dramatic version. The truth is, it can be much smaller than that. This is sudden weakness or numbness on one side of the face. Sometimes it's obvious. One side droops noticeably when the person tries to smile. But sometimes it's tiny, a little tingling near the mouth, a feeling like one side of the face isn't listening to you. Here's why this happens. Your brain controls the muscles of your face like a puppeteer controls a puppet, each string connected to a different muscle. When blood flow to one side of the brain is interrupted, even briefly, some of those strings go slack. The result is a face that suddenly doesn't move evenly. Think of it like a porch light on a dimmer switch. Most of the time, it's either fully on or fully off. But for a moment, before it fails completely, it might flicker, dimmer on one side of the room than the other. That flicker is information. It's telling you something in the wiring is wrong. Doctors at the National Stroke Association built an entire test around this sign because it's so reliable. Ask the person to smile and watch for one side drooping. Picture this scenario. A woman in her late 60s is having coffee with her sister. She goes to smile at a joke, and her sister notices, just for a second, that one side of her mouth doesn't move the same way. It passes in under a minute. They both laugh it off as a weird face. That kind of moment is exactly the kind of warning sign that gets dismissed every single day. What you need to do. If you or someone near you has any facial drooping, even briefly, even if it goes away, treat it as an emergency. Ask the person to smile. If one side doesn't move right, call emergency services immediately. Do not wait to see if it happens again. The second sign shows up in the arms, and it's often the one people notice in themselves before anyone else does. This is sudden weakness, heaviness, or numbness in one arm, usually just one side of the body. You might try to lift a cup, and your arm feels strangely heavy, like it's made of wet sand. Or you go to raise your hand and it just doesn't rise the way the other one does. Here's the simple science. Each side of your brain controls the opposite side of your body. So when blood flow gets blocked on one side of the brain, the opposite arm is often the first place the weakness shows up, because the nerve pathway runs a long distance from brain to fingertips, and even a small interruption shows up clearly along that path. Think of it like a long extension cord running across your yard. If there's a kink near the plug, you might not notice anything wrong right next to the outlet, but by the time the cord reaches the far end, the lamp barely lights up at all. A small problem at the start becomes very obvious by the time it reaches your hand. This is part of the FAST test that hospitals and stroke researchers use worldwide. Ask the person to raise both arms and watch if one arm drifts downward. Here's a scenario worth picturing. A retired teacher, 71 years old, reaches for his morning newspaper and notices his right arm feels asleep, like pins and needles, but heavier than usual. It passes in 2 or 3 minutes. He goes about his day. That kind of fleeting weakness is one of the most commonly reported signs in the hours before a major stroke. What you need to do. If one arm suddenly feels weak, heavy, or numb, even if it resolves quickly, don't wait. Try raising both arms above your head at the same time. If one arm drifts down or won't lift, treat it as a medical emergency and call for help right away. Sign number 3, words that slip and slide. The third sign involves speech, and this one can be embarrassing, which is exactly why people try to hide it instead of getting help. This is sudden slurred speech, trouble finding the right words, or saying something that comes out garbled or doesn't make sense. It might last only a few seconds. The person might laugh and say, "Wow, I just had a tongue-tied moment." Here's the science, simplified. Speech is one of the most complex things your brain does. It requires coordination between the part of your brain that forms ideas and the part that controls your mouth, tongue, and breath, almost like a live broadcast with a control room and a microphone working in perfect sync. When blood flow falters even briefly, that live broadcast can glitch. Words come out scrambled, or the connection seems to cut out mid-sentence. Picture it like a radio losing signal as a car drives through a tunnel. For a few seconds, the voice on the radio breaks up, the words get cut into pieces, and then it clears up again as you come out the other side. That brief static is exactly what's happening in the brain during a speech-related warning sign. This is the S in the FAST test that emergency responders are trained to check immediately. Imagine this scenario. A husband and wife are having dinner, and the husband, 68, tries to say, "Pass the salt," and instead says something slurred and jumbled. His wife laughs, thinking he's joking. 30 seconds later, he's talking normally again. They never mention it to a doctor. What you need to do. If speech suddenly slurs, scrambles, or stops making sense, even briefly, ask the person to repeat a simple sentence. If they can't say it clearly, call emergency services immediately. Do not wait for it to happen again to be sure. Before we continue to sign number 4, if this information feels important to you, please take a moment to hit that like button. Here's why it actually matters. This video reaches more people, more seniors, more caregivers, more sons and daughters worried about their parents when more of you engage with it. A simple like helps this knowledge spread to someone who might desperately need it today. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing. I share videos like this regularly, videos built to help you and the people you love stay strong, aware, and protected as the years go on. This channel exists for exactly one reason: to help people like you live longer, fuller, more independent lives. All right, let's get back to it because the next 3 signs are some of the most important on this entire list. Sign number 4, the world tilts sideways. Sign number 4 is sudden dizziness, loss of balance, or trouble walking, and it's one that's frequently mistaken for simple clumsiness or just getting older. This is a sudden feeling that the room is spinning, or that your legs won't carry you the way they should, or that you're veering to one side when you try to walk a straight line. Here's the science. Your brain has a built-in balance system, like a tiny carpenter's level constantly checking if you're standing straight. It's part of a brain region that needs a steady, uninterrupted supply of blood to function. When that supply is briefly disrupted, your internal level goes haywire. You feel like you're on a tilting boat deck, even though you're standing on solid ground. Think of it like a ship's compass that gets knocked off balance during a storm. For a moment, it doesn't point true north, it swings wildly, and so does your sense of balance, even though nothing around you has actually moved. Researchers studying stroke warning signs have found this type of sudden imbalance is significant enough that it was added as the B in an expanded version of the FAST test, now called B-FAST, specifically because it's so often missed. Picture this. A woman, 74, is walking to her mailbox and suddenly grabs the fence because the ground feels like it tilted beneath her. She blames her shoes. She blames the uneven sidewalk. 15 minutes later, she feels completely normal. What you need to do. If you suddenly feel off balance, dizzy, or unable to walk a straight line, especially without an obvious cause like standing up too fast, sit down immediately and have someone check your face, arms, and speech right away. If anything seems off, call for emergency help without delay. Sign number 5, the vision that goes dark or doubles. Sign number 5 is sudden vision changes, blurriness, double vision, or even a curtain of darkness coming down over part of your sight, often in just one eye. Here's why this happens. The signals from your eyes travel along very specific pathways to reach the part of your brain that actually sees the image, like a cable carrying a picture from a camera to a TV screen. If blood flow to that pathway is interrupted, the picture can blur, split into two, or go dark entirely, even though your eyes themselves are perfectly healthy. Think of it like a TV losing its signal cable for a moment. The screen doesn't turn off completely, it flickers, splits, or goes to static, even though the television itself is working fine. The problem isn't the eye, the screen, it's the connection. This sign is often more frightening than the others because vision feels so immediate and personal. People will frequently visit an eye doctor first, thinking it's a problem with their eyes, when really the message is coming from much further up the line, and the eye doctor's office is the wrong place to be when minutes matter. Picture this scenario. A man, 66, is reading the newspaper, and suddenly the words on the right side of the page seem to vanish, like a shade pulled halfway down. It lasts about 4 minutes, then clears. He assumes he needs new glasses and makes an appointment for the following week. What you need to do. If vision suddenly blurs, doubles, or partially disappears, even briefly, do not schedule a routine eye exam. Call emergency services. This is one of the most under-recognized warning signs there is, and waiting for next week's appointment can cost precious time. Sign number 6, the headache that doesn't belong. This is it, the final sign, and in many ways, the most important one of all. This is a sudden, severe headache that feels completely different from any headache you've had before, often described as the worst headache of your life, sometimes called a thunderclap headache because it hits all at once, like a clap of thunder with no warning rumble beforehand. Here's why this matters so much. Most headaches build slowly: tension, stress, a sinus issue. But this kind of headache is different. It can signal bleeding in or around the brain, or it can come alongside the other warning signs we've already covered, almost like your brain's smoke alarm going off all at once, instead of one quiet beep at a time. Think of it like the difference between a slow leak in a tire and a blowout. A slow leak gives you days of warning, the tire just looks a little low. A blowout gives you one sudden violent bang, and you know immediately that something is seriously wrong. A thunderclap headache is the blowout. It does not whisper, it shouts. This sign is so often missed because so many people live with regular headaches and learn to push through. That habit, built over years of ordinary headaches, is exactly what makes this sign so dangerous. People apply yesterday's normal to a today that is anything but normal. Here's a scenario to picture. A grandmother, 70 years old, is gardening when a headache hits so suddenly and so severely that she has to sit down right where she's standing. She tells herself it's just the heat, takes a pain reliever, and lies down. It's a story that repeats in different forms far too often, and it's exactly the kind of moment where minutes matter most. What you need to do, and please take this seriously, any headache that is sudden, severe, and unlike anything you've experienced before should be treated as a medical emergency immediately. No waiting, no "let's see if it passes," no pain reliever and a nap. Call for help right away. 9. 10. The hidden truth. Now here is something I need you to really sit with. All 6 of these signs share one thing in common, and it's the most important pattern in this entire video. They often come and go. That's the cruel trick of a warning stroke. The symptom shows up, scares you for a moment, and then disappears completely within minutes. Your body feels normal again. Your brain, eager for relief, tells you, "See, it was nothing," and so you move on with your day. This is precisely why TIAs, mini strokes, are so dangerous. They are not almost strokes that you can safely ignore. They are full dress rehearsals for a major stroke, performed by your own circulatory system, showing you exactly what's coming if nothing changes. And the research is clear. Roughly 1 in 3 people who experience a TIA will eventually have a full stroke, and the risk is highest in the first 48 hours. I think about a man I read about in stroke research case discussions, in his late 60s, who felt his hand go numb for 90 seconds while watering his garden. He shook his hand out, felt fine, and went back inside for lunch. He didn't mention it to anyone. 2 days later, he had a major stroke that left him unable to use that same hand for months of rehabilitation. This is not meant to frighten you for no reason. It's meant to hand you the single most valuable piece of information in this entire video.